I'm Jill Wigmore-Welsh, if we've not met before. So the conversation today is around relapsing and what can be done to prevent yourself from going into that big downward spiral. I've actually got a diagram on a piece of paper, and I've got some notes to the side, so you might occasionally see me look down when I just refer to my notes, because I prefer to do it this way rather than have a sticker somewhere here. So here's my diagram. Having relapses in health problems, in your general well-being, in some area of your well-being, is perfectly natural. But we're talking really about the physical and emotional side of things. So let's show you my diagram. So here we go. So this is where you are in life. This is the lifeline, if you like, along here. And I just put the letters there because I should be making a short course, and I should be putting all this up as a little sort of slide. But for now, it's just a little diagram. I like drawing, so there we go. So there we go. You're trundling along life, and something happens and you begin to start to have an episode of mental health problems, stress, anxiety, worry. It begins to slide down, and you go into an episode of depression. The NT stands for negative thinking. Now we know, and this doesn't mean that I'm a positive thinking guru and I'm going to say if you think positive it's going to solve all the problems. No. But when you're having any of those things happening in life, and life is a constant storm of activity, when you have one of those things that goes on, like an argument with somebody where you were thinking about what you were going to say beforehand, have this argument, and then afterwards you're deconstructing it, you're talking to people about it, even that can trigger an episode. If you're in a relationship and something goes on and you think, oh no, this is going to finish, you're upset, etc. So there's lots and lots of reasons that you're thinking that you're aware of, you're thinking that you're aware of, can start to cause your emotions to go down. All right, so here we are. You're in an episode. Depending on how severe it is, you may need to get some external support. So if it's really severe, you might pick up the phone and call the Samaritans if you're feeling really, really low. If you're somebody who finds medication works, you might go to the GP and have some prescription medication. You might have some counselling, psychotherapy support, coaching, talk to friends. Whatever you have, make sure it's done professionally, though. Professional input is very important. She says, tapping that. So you have an episode, and then you improve. All right, so you go into what we call remission. So here we are, there's the second R. So you're in remission. At this point, you're not really having any negative thoughts. Life seems to be pretty good. Relationship's okay. Not too many arguments at work. Money seems to be flowing in. At this point, everything's going okay. And then as you begin to start to go along further, you start to get to this point here. Now at this point, you're at a potential point to have a relapse again. All right, so you're at a potential to have a relapse. Now, because there are things that are happening. But as you go along, really there's a point here where you begin to start to slip into, if you like, a bit of a low mood, something starts to happen. But then there's a choice point. Up here is no relapse, so not right down into that, which I think, is upward spiral, or down this way, into the downward spiral of having a relapse, all right? What we know is that at this choice point here, where you're beginning to start to get this happening, it's at a not just reactivation of negative thinking, but an awareness of this negative thinking. In other words, you actually are acting on or responding to those negative thoughts. So at this point here, something happens. There's a potential relapse. There's some sort of trigger that's happened. There's some sort of impact on the mood. Okay, but there's one of two ways you can go. If that negative thinking becomes really well established and you're aware of it and you're responding to it, then you can go back down into that point again. But if up here the problems seem to be resolved, then you can go up into no relapse. So it's a very simple diagram. It's a very simple diagram. It's very much more complicated than that, but it's a very simple diagram. So the reason that I wanted to raise this today is because when people have an diagnosed episode of anxiety, response to stress, burnout, mild burnout, physical symptoms, depression, you know, if you've had one of these, then actually there is a potential for you to actually have an exacerbation of your symptoms again in the future. And that's not a negative thing to think about. It's very positive to be prepared for the future. And this is what my clients are doing. So coming back to my story, my clients who were coming to see me, who had support from me, whether it was emotional support or physical support, because I'm dual qualified. I'm a consultant physiotherapist, specialist in working with pain and musculoskeletal problems and massive injuries, but I'm also a accredited senior psychotherapist, a supervisor, a trainer in psychology, and a coach and hypnotherapist. So I have these two sides that I work with people. So people were bringing problems to me where there was a complete enmesh between the way they were thinking and responding to the world, the way that was causing tensioning, reactions in their system, etc. When they got to the end of the course of care, as a clinician, I'd be thinking, good, lovely. Give me a shout if you have problems. What they were saying to me is it all right if I just give you a call every now and again, just if I get a bit of an ache here or start to worry about things, and I'd be going, no, I'm sure you'll be fine. And then I began to realize as I was having these conversations, that these people were asking if they could come back. So what they were already doing was making plans. And I realized I needed to change my beliefs and attitudes. Because otherwise what was happening was, I would say about 80% of the people that I worked with who had an episode of some kind of injury would find that they didn't come back and see me for quite a number of years. But other people I'd find would be back to see me after about 18 months or 2 years with a similar problem. So I realized that if what I did was I gave them permission to come and see me, yes, and we set up an arrangement, we made a contract that they would come to me, say, for maintenance once a month for 2 or 3 months, and then we'd see if we could cut it down. And then we maybe got to the point where they were coming once every 6 months, and then maybe they forgot and didn't come for a year, and then things seemed to stir up again, and then they needed to come for 2 or 3 appointments close together. But you can understand what I'm saying. And this is why this very simple diagram is so important, because it explains how, when you've had an episode and you go into remission and you have these potential triggers that can start to cause you to go in one of two directions, if what's happening is at this point where you're beginning to start to pick up, that you've actually got an open door, if you like, to be able to go back and see somebody, or that you have a process and practice that you can work with, it can really help you not to go right down here again. So have a lovely rest of the day. If you'd like to get in touch with me and talk to me at all about any of the problems that you're having, if you need some support, you can do that through social media, etc. So for now, take care, maintain yourself, and I'm sending you love.